Before it is 8 o'clock. It is the 18th day of October 2023. It is time for us to unpack the papers. It is called Freshly Pressed, and that's where we serve you all of the newspaper headlines from the local scene and then get the analysts to get to break down all the details for us this morning. And joining me this morning to help dissect the papers would be Devoe Okorie. Here, that's him. So he's here ready for us to get started with the papers this morning. So Devoe is here. I also got joining us virtually this morning. Lakunle Yusuf is getting ready to do this justice to the headlines this morning. Good morning, Lakunle.
Good morning, Omar. Morning, Devoe. Good morning, everyone around the world.
Good morning, world. Cool. Do you have cash?
Transfer. You accept transfer?
Only debit.
Okay, so that's it already, but there's a very important part of this conversation, and that's the listener. So we just like you to know that if you're listening right now, there is a part of it where we always look forward to get to read the messages you send in relating to all of the headlines we're bringing to you this morning, and that will be for you to send us WhatsApp messages to 0809 444 0981. Once again, 0809 444 0981. We'll love to read your messages when you send them relating to the headlines on Freshly Pressed this morning. My name is Omatseye. So if you're ready, let's unpack the papers this morning as I head straight to Devoe to help us get started. This one comes from the Nation newspaper, and the headline screams, President Tinubu launches cash transfer relief aid for 15 million households. That's what it is saying. And Devoe, as you help us look through this paper, I would like you to also bring to bear how much are we looking at, if terms and conditions also apply in this one, and how can we rely and pick data from this one different from the past? Thank you.
Well, there are generally two issues here.
Okay.
And that has to do with how the federal government is addressing the poverty crisis. And the poverty crisis has always been expressed by the state of the economy. Sometimes people always say how you take care of yourself is an indicator of how well you're doing. And when a large portion of your country lives below the poverty line is what is we hear the word all the time by the UN is defined by people who cannot afford a meal a day. That is zeros. They can't even do 001. And one meal, as always, internationally is put at $1. $1 per day, which is supposed to be subhuman. In our narrative, that is 1,000 now. At some point, it was 500. But what it means is that people struggle even to get that 1,000 naira to afford a meal a day. And what this has done is that it has created, because of some of the policies across time, it's not just about this season, it has created immense hardship. Now, this administration, Bola Tinubu Shetima administration, had taken some certain measures in terms of the lifting of subsidy and harmonization of forex, which obviously at this initial period pushed inflation. And because of that inflation, especially food inflation, many people who, as we always say, if you want to simplify the state of the nation, those who had before have less, and those who had less before actually have nothing at all now. So the Minister of Humanitarian and Disaster Management, that's Dr. Bella Etta, was announcing yesterday the flag off of the cash transfer relief program for about 15 million households. This was part of the items that were negotiated with the labor unions, remember, when they decided to suspend the all-out strike. This was one of the items. Now, AKA, this is the, what I call it, the flagship item in terms of the palliatives. And let's put that word right. Palliative is temporary relief, so it's not permanent, okay? So in as much of all the other line items in terms of increasing salary, in terms of the CNG buses, in terms of even the 25,000 for 3 months that was meant to go to
federal employees.
It's meant to go to MSMEs.
Okay.
This aspect covers the most Nigerians. Now, this 25,000 per month times 3 months, okay? I think it's meant to start in November, December, either January. Is a temporary reprieve to help them survive this period. Now, she was stating in the press briefing alongside the Minister of State for the Economy, the Minister of the Economy, that's the Finance Minister, Wale Edun, that this method that they had applied before had been enhanced in terms of the fact that because a household in their figures is between mother, father, and maybe 2 to 3 children, right? Now, if you multiply that by 25,000, that means it's meant to address between 60 to 80 million people, okay? Now, although the Minister of the Economy was stating that 63%, based on the Nigerian statistics, of Nigerians are living in poverty, which represents 84 million Nigerians, I kind of wonder where his figure is coming from versus the MVS figure last time that puts 133 million people in multi-dimensional poverty. However, what is key to note here is that the government is taking a step. This step should have been taken from the beginning, from the get-go, but they've taken some time to be able to get their foot together to understand their plans. And then 2, the implementation, which is the second half of it. It's not just to talk that we're going to do this. We've seen how palliative distribution in the past has come with lots of frustration. And at the end of the day, even currently, especially with state government, palliative distribution has become a Herculean task. And they're saying that, this money would be distributed through some kind of biodata, whichever method they intend to use. I want government, especially the National Assembly, representing their constituents, to put a checker on this, to put a tracker, just like the last distribution was questioned. Who are these people? Who make up these numbers? How do we, and this begins to speak about issues of data integrity, data that the government has of the people that form the nation, okay? Who are these, in quotes, 90 million Nigerians that are going to benefit from this? How do we ensure that they get it? How do we ensure, there's so much involved here. So we don't want it to be another scheme at the end of the day that a lot of money is pumped into and doesn't get to the people, and people end up better than they should have been. It's a real test for this government, and all our eyes are on. Citizens don't sit back. Keep a keen eye on this progress to ensure that those around you, the poor are always among us. They're not far. They don't live anywhere outside of you. Some of them live in front of their doorstep. So keep an eye to see whether the government efforts actually reach these people.
All right, thank you very much, Devoe, for that passionate start for Freshly Pressed this morning. We appreciate you. Let's go. It connected this next story. Now let's go to Lakunle Yusuf this morning as you help us unpack what the Punch newspaper says here. Poverty reduction. Governor Sani charges private sectors operators to also jump in on this, and it can be a government effort alone from what we see here. But speak to us in relation to the fact that all of these efforts that Devoe has spoken about, the launch of this scheme in the presidential villa yesterday, and what the governor of Kaduna State is talking about, was all happening on a day where it's said to be the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. Speak to this headline. Your audio is very low. Would like you to speak up.
Okay, so it seems like
your audio is still very low, Lakunle. What happened? Could you? It's very low. So I'm sorry. Would like you to speak while he sort out. Just connect that story for us. That headline once again. In relation to the first one you picked up here, where the Kaduna State governor is asking the private sector and public sector to put hands together to see how they can work to eradicate poverty.
Well, basically, yes.
While Lakunle sorts out the audio. Lakunle, can you hear us? The audio is... No, we can't. So just go ahead.
Okay. I guess this was a public sector moves by the Kaduna State government to see how he can create an enabling environment. Basically, government doesn't have all the money, that's for sure. What is important is that policies is everything to getting Nigeria out of the condition we're in. I've always said it. The removal of subsidy and the harmonization of ethics were the first 2 steps out of 10. There are literally 8 more steps to be taken. Some are being taken at the moment, like they've removed the ban on some certain items. Some of these things send the right confidence to the private sector to be able to invest. They can invest either by foreign direct investment, whereby they bring the money into the country, operate, build factories, create engines of growth that drive business forward. Okay, they can also come by way of foreign portfolio investments, whereby they invest and take out the money as and when due. They're also
Let's see.
Yes,
Luckily, you're back now. We can go ahead.
Yeah.
Let's see something.
So is it clearer now?
Well, I'm a guess you have to get the earphones away and then try and see. The audio is not working at that end.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Hello? Can you hear us now? Okay.
I can hear you. Okay,
Go
great. So my notes that I have is that, okay, so Kaduna State is one of those states, maybe 2 or 3 states who generate enough money, internal generated revenue to take care of its, at least some of its responsibilities. The governor, Sonny Uba, he's inherited some very good policies from his predecessor. And it is also very notable to say that this is coming from the governor. I see that a lot of us in Nigeria focus more on the federal government, and the governors get away with a lot of things. So when we start to focus on the governors, and possibly when we start to focus on the local government too, reducing and eradicating poverty would gather traction. Now, having said that, he has spoken the right words. It's a partnership. But then government must be seen to practice what it preaches, right? So, for example, government should not say, create a law, say pension, for example, pension scheme, and then you find out that it is government itself that is not remitting the pension funds of its employees, right? So the thing about it is that, so when these monies are remitted to the right authorities, the private sector benefits from it because they're able to invest it in other things where other private sector people will earn an income. If they invest in social infrastructure, people will be gainfully employed. And the job of government is to create opportunities, while it is the job of the private sector to work on these opportunities to create wealth, right? So basically,
Lakunle, you would have to hold on a bit. We just have the grid lines here for us to go for traffic to flow by. But when we come back, you build up in some of that point, and then we get on to other stories. You're listening to Smooth 98.1 FM. It is freshly pressed, and we expect to hear from you on the number 0809-444-0981 WhatsApp messages.
Your number one adult contemporary radio station. Are you looking for a reliable way to grow your money? Let me tell you about ARM. ARM is one of the largest non-bank financial institutions with over 29 years of expertise in money management and wealth creation. That's almost 3 decades. ARM is all about ensuring your financial goals are met with ease, no matter who you are. Now, whether it's growing your money through safe, well-managed investments or important goals like school fees, personal development, vacations, rent, buying a property, or preparing for the future, ARM has got you covered. We all know there are a lot of apps out there promising to grow your money, but ARM has everything you need to go from where you are to where you need to be. Start your wealth creation journey today by downloading the ARM One app, Google Play Store, or iOS Store. There are great options for everyone. You even start with as low as 1,000 Naira, just 1,000 Naira. For more information, visit arm.com.ng or call 01-271-5002. That's 01-271-5002. ARM, let's face tomorrow together. 8.1.
We're Smooth 98.1 FM is still freshly pressed. And before we went on that traffic drive there, we had Lakunle speaking on the issue that's relating to Kaduna State Governor asking for partnership between public and private sector. So you would sum up the point now.
Right. So quickly. So we cannot go any other way but for government to be the foundation of the growth that we seek and we speak about. It has to be government making the first move, and then the private sector will ride on it to help to create the wealth that we desire.
All right. With that said, we drift over now to get Devoe's contribution this morning to speak to us with this paper. The Guardian newspaper is what Devoe will be breaking down this morning. Agriculture, water ministries collaborate over all year round farming. Well, this is where we are this time. So, Devoe, how would this in itself help us to solve some of these clashes we've had over access to water, land, if this eventually comes to be?
Well, the Minister of Agriculture is speaking at the forum where he was looking at collaborative ways of moving forward some of the threats to food security in the nation. And he mentioned that the declining water supply due to replenishing, urbanization, and rapid population growth pose a threat to Nigeria's food security, and urgent steps need to be taken to curtail it. Hence the need for collaboration between the irrigation of farmlands to guarantee food that is produced all year round. Well, those are sound bites, okay? And my issue here is that sound bite literally evades or escapes the big elephants in the room, not to a large extent, that the biggest threat to all year round farming is not water, but insecurity. Insecurity has been the biggest bane, literally has driven crop prices. We've seen the many attacks that various farmers in different locations in the country have gone to. However, yes, I'm not sure if that was his focus in this forum. However, proper, adequate water supply.
Irrigation.
Yes, irrigation across the various farm lands in the country, yes, is an integral part to addressing this. Now, what he was saying was that the Ministry of Water Resources would use its capacity to actually make the river basins and the dams available. Now, this speaks to infrastructure, and this is where I think the real problem lies. Many of the river basins that have been established in this country, I think about 67 of them in various parts, literally have not lived up to all that was planned and projected for them. It was just a lot of land acquired by the federal government that was arable land that never saw the light of day. Those river basins till date should have been the generation basket, not only just to feed the country, but also to create exportable and commercial earnings for the country. But they haven't done that. Two, the dams. I mean, you would wonder why is water not available when water at some point becomes an enemy, simply because we as humans have not been able to appropriate it. So all that water, all that land that normally floods the whole nation, I mean, good thinking would have looked at it and said, how do we apply this to ensure that we can reserve this, okay, to be able to use and distribute for ourselves? So he's saying the right things, but these are things that have been known. Up to now, we've not even addressed the issue with the Cameroon flooding that takes place almost every year in creating that dam in Taraba to be able to ensure that this water is reserved. So I think they're going to have to go way beyond this conference into some actionable steps to ensure that they can we can start seeing some growth in terms of irrigation.
All right, thank you very much, Devoe. I'd like to cross over now from water issues now. Let's talk water and oil. They mix sometimes, it floats, one floats on top of the other, but let's get to Lakunle to help us sort this one out if he hopes to refine this one for us. As the headline from the Punch newspaper says, oil-producing African countries to meet in Nigeria from October the 25th to the 26th. What's the purpose of this? Are they having another counter cartel going on, or this one seemed to be way back in time? And how would OPEC Plus and the other producers take this meeting?
Oh, okay. So I'm not certain that there aren't not enough what do we call them?
We have two audios. Sorry, you Lakunle, two audios are colliding, so you could let one go, then stay with one of it.
Okay. I was saying the cartels. We've read about it in economics, what it is, the advantages and disadvantages, but let's even leave that out of it. Now, the aim of this meeting by the African Petroleum Producers Organization There are 20 members, ranging from Malawi that produces 200 barrels per day to Nigeria that does 1.9 million barrels per day. All of them in total do less than 10 million barrels per day. If you compare that to the consumption per day global, you will probably see that it is insignificant, right? But then, okay, so the purpose of this meeting is to discuss the challenges and how to innovate their way out of the challenges that face production of oil in Africa. And I'm asking myself, what is the new technology? Okay, so more efficient ways and all that. What is it about innovation that we want to do? Do they all have the same common problems? Or is it that everybody will come with their specific problems and put on the table and everybody will jointly solve the problem? How many of the African countries produce refined oil that they use at home? What is the relation of this? Are they going to interface this with the AFTA treaty, with the ECOWAS treaty, with all the treaties, the AU, the ECOWAS, the Central African Economic Union, the South? So it will be interesting to even have an idea of how it's going to work. Are they going to talk about Africa first? The oil we produce in Africa, should we sell to ourselves first? Should we do exchanges here and there? Are there ways we can do this cheaper, and so on and so forth? So those are the kind of things we would expect to hear from this meeting. It will be interesting to see what the outcome will be. This is a third one. So I'm assuming then that this is a baby organization in the mix of bigger things, right? And like you said, OPEC, some of these countries are also members of OPEC. They are members of other trade organizations all over the world. The impact of what decisions they will make or what they will come out with this, we should be able to measure it against how it will impact on all of those other treaties the countries have signed with. It's going to be interesting times forward. Oil is about $80 per barrel today, right? What will they do? Can they influence the prices of oil to go higher? I don't think so. So we'll just like to stay at that expectant level to see, okay, so what is the discussion about and how is it going to affect the challenges, particularly in Nigeria that I am a citizen, our the thefts, the IOC signing out, the inability to refine oil locally and all that. So I have an open mind. We'll see where this goes. It's something to watch and see how it affects everything else that I've described.
Thank you very much. It's still freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1 FM. I'll now go over to the listener. They sent in a number of messages in, so we'd have to go back there and clear all of it. So let's see this one coming from Osage from Ojodu. Just like the audio palliatives they shared, this 25K will go the same way. Only in Nigeria do we do the same thing the same way and expect a different result. Who do us, I beg? And I guess Devoe Okorie was, anyway, but then the answers will come somewhere along the line. Devoe may have the answers. Let's get on to a next one. Who sent in this one? Says, well, based on the headline, it's just simply saying, read this. It shows that the president has nothing to offer the country. Transferring money to 15 million households is not a safe way of curbing the hardship in Nigeria. And how can you measure the equality of people receiving the money? That takes me away to Ayo's message this morning saying, greetings, and then it goes on the cash transfer. I agree with Devoe 100%, and this is key test for these government. Our eyes on them for this, and they should deliver on the kickstart of the refineries by December. Ayo. Okay, let's get this one in. Ajayi Olunilua from Magodo GI says, the idea of giving cash is fraught with so much corruption, as there is no scientific method to determine who the actual beneficiaries are. Why not channel these funds to make the refineries and other basic amenities work? Those are the thoughts of Ajayi Olunilua sending that one in. And I bring in this one from, I didn't get your name, but okay, let's see. So we need the data. The list of beneficiaries must be made public on state-to-state basis, because of the way things and the program are easily corrupted in this country. We need to know who the beneficiaries are. We can't have a situation where the monies are going into accounts of government officials and those only of supporters of the government. It is an avenue to probably siphon, steal funds. That's what he had to say. Let's move up and get this one in. Okay, let's see. Shagun's message is here, and he's saying another big issue. Okay, big issues are water and security. Another big issue is a rapid population explosion, which every government in the last 30 years is ignoring. And one more, Idimapuza from Surulere sent in this one. The easiest way to loot funds in his fears is that, well, creating ways of giving money to or palliatives to the poor. Where's the data of the poor people in Nigeria? 100% would be budgeted, but only 40% would be given out to the poor. Who's fully new Idimapuza? But let's see, Devoe, if you can sum this up for us in about a minute. Your next paper, The Vanguard, Senate urges federal government to declare state of emergency on drug abuse.
However, the Senate has been looking at statistics recently of how badly drug abuse in the nation has come, given a country that just used to be a drug life, to now almost over 30 million people are abusing drugs by the statistics. And they're raising a motion to declare a state of emergency that the NDLA's workload group will need to be enhanced. My only point here, because of time, is that the Senate should move on this. It's not just because of our youth. As a nation, vices do cripple whatever productive or constructive plan that you have to build a better nation. But when we talk about mental health, it's not seen on the face. A lot of the people around you, you may not know, in high percentages, almost over half the people around you are struggling with some form of vice or malliance or the other. And our youth, who should have been the promise of hope, have gotten into this. This is not strange, and it is not unconnected to all the way the culture and the economy have run in this country. So many people have used drugs as a means of trying to escape the hardship of the nation. But we know at the end of the day, that is a bad decision. And then it renders them useless and unproductive, and they even become threats to the country. So there's no time, but I'm happy they made this move, but it shouldn't just stop at a motion. They should move forward and let us see what the makings of a state of emergency on drug abuse become.
Thank you very much. And that's where we would wrap up Freshly Pressed this morning on Smooth 98.1 FM. I'd like to say thank you to Lakunle, Yusuf, for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And to Devoe, Okorie, we say thank you as always. And to everyone who sent in messages, I see Idimapuza, Shegun, I see Ajayi, I see Ayo, I see Ajayi Olonilua, and all the others, and those who tried to but couldn't. We say appreciate you. Let's do this again tomorrow at 7:30. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa. Good morning.
On Smooth 98.1 was brought to you by AR.